What's going on, YouTube? It's your boy Ghost back. I know I'm being very inconsistent with my uploads. Right now I'm in this headspace where I just kind of don't want to upload, but I know I need to. And it's not fair to everybody that's subbed to this channel. I noticed my sub count went down by one. That's fine. I'm working on something in the background. I'm waiting till I get like an actual camera and some other stuff put together. But for now, I actually have a deck profile that I've been meaning to get done for a little bit. Let me wipe my camera off right quick. Alright, I also turned off the light in my room to hopefully get rid of some of the glare, but I am doing a Counter Fairy Solfachord build. Their Link monster did come out in Dawn of Majesty. I haven't had the chance to order that Link monster, but I highly recommend playing it in the deck. There is no extra deck with this deck, though, because, like I said, it is a Counter Fairy build. But if you want, I would recommend playing no more than 2 of the Solfachord and Link. It requires just 2 Pendulum monsters, and I believe it has an Electrum or Electromite-like effect. So, up to y'all. And then the rest of the extra deck, you can put whatever you want in there. You could even put that 1 pot card in the deck that banishes 3 to 6 random cards from your extra. What is it? It's not. Is it Pot of Extrav? Yes, it's Pot of Extravagance. What am I doing? Yeah, if you couldn't tell, I've kind of been like out of the loop of Yu-Gi-Oh stuff. Like I said, I have a couple of other videos that are recorded, but I'm waiting till I get like an actual camera to start doing those. In editing software, because you guys know I have a PC, and I'm just gonna stop going on. I'm gonna get into the deck profile. First off, I'm gonna go through all the Solfachord cards I'm running, and the first one is 3 copies of Sulfachord Fancia. Fancia is the best Solfachord monster by far. She gives you access to all of your monsters, because she has the effect that, well, they all have effects based on if you have an odd or an even, and this one has the effect that if you have an odd pendulum scale, if a Solfachord pendulum would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can destroy this instead. Or no. Be destroyed by battle, you can destroy this monster. Okay, so this protects from battle by blowing itself up. Then it has an effect that during the main phase, you can send a Solfachord monster from your deck to the extra deck. So, you know, it has a Foolish Burial to the extra deck effect, which is really good. And it's level 4, it's a scale 5. You typically don't want to put it in the scale, and I'm not really going to go over the scale effects in this video, because the scale effects are all, like, either your opponent can't activate spells or traps, spell traps and monster effects when your Sulfachord Pendulum monsters are summoned, or your Pendulum or your Sulfachord Pendulum summons can't be negated. That's really all they are. I just went over them even though I said I wasn't going to. Then I run 3 Thai Solfachord Beautia. She has the effect that if you have an even in your scale, right? She has a quick effect where you can target an effect monster your opponent controls, or if you have an even pendulum scale, you can target a spell or trap your opponent controls and negate its effects. Or no, you banish it when it leaves the field. It banishes when it leaves the field, and then you can only use that effect once per turn. And then once per turn, at the start of the damage step, if your Solfachord battles an opponent's monster with equal or higher attack than your lowest pendulum scale times 300. So if you have a 1 scale in your scale zone, you can immediately destroy it before damage calc. Next, I run 3 Solfachord Cutia. She is a really, really good normal summon in the deck. She searches all of your monsters when normal or specialed. And she boosts the attack of all of your Solfachord monsters by their scale times 100. So she boosts herself by 800 attack and defense, or is it just attack? I believe it's attack and defense. No, it's just attack. Okay. And then that's really it. She is the highest scale in the deck, so I highly recommend either normal summoning her or, scaling her. You cannot pendulum summon her in this deck because she is a level 1. There's no way to get her to scale 0 in the deck. There are ways to special summon her from the deck, I believe. Actually, I don't think there are right now. Either way, next up I am running the Do Solfachord Kulia at 2. She can special summon herself from the hand by attributing 2 Solfachord monsters. Then she has the effect that you can target a face-up card your opponent controls, or up to 2 if you have an odd in your scale or in your pendulum zone. Negate their effects until the end of the turn. Not a quick effect. And then when an opponent's monster on the field activates its effect with equal or lower attack than the highest scale times 300, you can destroy it. You don't negate it, but you destroy it. So if you have this on the board, your opponent tries to activate Hulk, and you have a scale 8. If you have scale 6 or higher, basically, because I think Hulk is 15. You can destroy the Hulk right away, and they can't do Auroradon combos or whatever. Or if you have your scale 8 and they get to the Auroradon, you can destroy the Auroradon when it activates the effect to put tokens on the board. It's actually not bad. Next, I run 2 copies of Solfachord Gracia. She has the effect that if your pendulum monster attacks, your opponent cannot activate effects until the end of the damage step if you have an even in your pendulum scale. Then when she's normal or special, you can add any Solfachord spell or trap from your deck to your hand. Pretty solid effect. Next, I am running 1 copy of La Solfachord Angelia. She is the main card you're going to be sending to the extra deck off of Fancia, because she has the effect where you contribute a Sulfachord monster, not another Sulfachord monster, just any Sulfachord monster, including herself, and you can just summon a Sulfachord monster from your deck whose scale is 2 higher or 2 lower than the attributed monster's scale. So she can contribute herself to summon a monster with a scale 5 or a scale 1 from the deck. And you really only need the one of her because you can put her in the EMZ and she'll distribute herself away. So if you pendulum summon before link summoning, and you summon her from the extra deck, which like I said, I don't have an extra deck because I don't have extravagance, I don't have, a bunch of extra deck cards to put in, I don't have their link monster. But anyways, you could put her in the EMZ and then use her effect to tribute herself if you didn't, fill up all your main monster zones, and get a monster from the deck and then link summon. She can get Fancia out of the deck too, and Fancia can get you more monsters into your extra deck that you can pendulum summon to the zones of link monsters in later turns. Like I said, this is a counter fairy deck, so you're going to want to go for long game. Next, I'm playing 3 copies of Solfachord Elegance. It has the effect, or it has 3 different effects where you can put a Solfachord from your deck into your scale. You can send, or you can add a Solfachord from your hand to the extra deck, face up, and then place 2 Solfachord pendulums with an or one odd and one even from your deck to your pendulum zones, or you can add 2 cards from your pendulum zones to your extra deck and then draw 2 cards. This card is a must-have at 3. This is the best card in the deck outside of, some of your counter traps. This card by itself sets up your scales and it sets up your extra deck. It's so strong. And that is all of the Solfachord cards I am running. For right now, like I said, right now you could take out some of the counter fairy stuff and run Extrab and whatnot. However, there is one counter fairy monster that I recommend and is mandatory basically, and that's our next monster. And that's 3 copies of Guiding Ariadne. She is an odd scale, and she has the effect where you basically don't have to pay costs for your counter traps. So if a counter trap requires you to discard or pay life points, you don't have to do that with Ariadne in the scale, and she's a 3 scale, which is not bad. 3 scale lets you pendulum summon basically your entire deck outside of 2 monsters or 1 monster. 3 scale at the lowest lets you pendulum summon everything except for Cutia, I believe, which is really good to have. And then it also has the effect that when it's destroyed, its monster effect is when it's destroyed, you can reveal 3 counter traps from your deck, and your opponent chooses one to add to your hand. You shuffle the other 2 back into the deck. Strong card, and I believe with the Solfachord Link monster, you can pop this card in your scale and get the effect to reveal 3 counter traps, which is really good. Next, I am running 3 copies of Minerva, Scholar of the Sky. It has the effect where when a counter trap is activated after it resolves, it gains 500 attack, and if the Sanctuary in the Sky, I'm totally not playing that card, is in your field zone, you can add a counter trap with a different name from the one that you just activated from your graveyard to your hand, which is really good. One, if Minerva goes unchecked, it gets out of control, it gets really, really big, and it can recycle your really powerful counter traps. We'll get to those in a minute, because I have one more monster in the counter fairy package, and that is 1 copy of Bountiful Artemis. I'm pretty sure some people would run 2 and 2 of Artemis and Minerva, but I think Minerva is more important than Artemis. Artemis, whenever a counter trap is activated after it resolves, you draw a card. I feel like Minerva's graveyard recursion of your counter traps will keep you in the game a lot longer. And if you see your one of counter traps, which I am playing 2 counter traps at 1 and a couple of others at 2, simply because of what they are. You don't want to see them early on. This card is okay. It helps you find those one-ofs, but Minerva is better because it lets you get those one-ofs back to your hand because the one-ofs are pretty powerful. Moving on to some extra spells. Sanctuary in the Sky. I wonder how this got in here. You guys know what this... Everybody probably knows what this card does. If you have a fairy, or any battle damage, or any time you have fairy battles, you take no battle damage. That's all it does. But it enables some counter traps and some other stuff like that. And obviously Minerva has that extra clause where you get to recur your counter traps. And then I'm also on the one of terraforming to be able to always have Sanctuary in the Sky in your hand. So we're basically running 4 copies of Sank. And now we're on to the counter traps, where I am running triple Drastic Drop-Off. Drastic Drop-Off is a pretty solid card when your opponent adds a card from their deck to their hand, including during the draw phase. So if your opponent exhausts enough stuff out of their hand, you can drop off in the draw phase and make them lose out on their hand. There is one version of this deck that I've thought about playing that actually uses a fair bit of the extra deck, and that's Gishki counter fairies. Never going to make that deck. I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm never going to make that one. Because I don't know how I would make it. And obviously I'd have to run a side range on Ben 10 at 1. I'm not doing that. I'm not going to stoop to Drytron levels. Anyways, I'm going to move on to the next counter trap. 3 copies of Black Horn of Heaven. The reason why I'm main decking 3 Black Horn of Heaven is because it stops a single monster on summon. So, like, your opponent will... So, like, nowadays, Link summoning is the whole thing. This card was, like, really bad back in pen format. But right now, during Link format, when you're summoning one monster at a time, and, you know, Nibiru counts, yes, you could play Nibiru in this deck, but I'm not doing that. You could Blackhorn of Heaven your opponent's Hulk before it can even choose to activate its effect. You can Blackhorn a Savage Dragon before it equips itself. You can do a bunch. Blackhorn stops a lot of stuff, and you can recur it. But once your opponent sees it coming, when your opponent sees it coming, they're going to try and play around it, and they might make less optimal plays. Or they'll just walk right into multiples, because it's not a once per turn, so, well, none of the counter traps really are. So, next, we're getting into the 2 ofs. I have 2 copies of Solemn Strike. Like I said, with Ariadne, you don't need to pay the life points, so this is basically when your opponent activates a monster effect, negate and destroy, counter trap, so, cool. Running 2 copies of Ultimate Providence. This is a card that you could probably cut, because when your opponent activates anything, monster spell or trap effect, you can you activate this, reveal a card of this, or discard a card of the same type. But if you have Ariadne, you just gotta reveal, and then you negate and destroy the card. Next, I am playing 1 copy of Divine Punishment. The reason why I'm playing 1 Divine Punishment is because it requires Sank in the Sky to be on the board, and Sank in the Sky is only searchable by, like, terraforming Metaverse, and I'm not playing Metaverse. So I'm only playing 1 of this, and it is recyclable because of Minerva. It's good. It stops them when a spell trap or monster effect is activated. Negate, destroy if you have Sank in the Sky on the field, and you can recur it. So, pretty good. And then we have the 1 Solemn Warning. Solemn Warning has a bit of a steeper cost to pay than Strike, which is why I'm only playing Warning at 1. So if you don't have the Ariadne, but you see the Warning and you need to use it, paying 2,000 life points is a bit of a high cost, because nowadays most stuff is monster effects. So Solemn Strike, 1,500 life points, you're good. Warning just stops anything that, involves summoning, and there you go. You could just pay 2,000 life points to stop it. So your opponent summons Verite, but you don't want to, activate the warning on the summon. You want to wait until they pay 2k to activate the effect of Verite. You just warning that. But yeah, that's the deck so far. Like I said, I would highly recommend getting the Solfachord Link monster. Very good card for the deck. And then playing if you do choose to play Extrav, I would cut the Artemis and the 2 Providence, because I feel like I'm playing too many counter traps, but at the same time, with the only draw card being, Artemis, and I'm playing it at 1 because I prefer Minerva over Artemis, playing Extrav with an extra deck chock full of stuff that's, useful, but not consistently usable, but Xtrav, turns that into constantly usable, isn't a bad idea. So anyways, guys, if you did enjoy the deck profile, please be sure to leave a like down below. If you want to suggest other builds that I should, like other decks that I should try and make and profile in my own way, because I build these decks in my own special way. I build them how I want, or how I play, which I play for fun. I don't play for competitive, even though I want to kind of play for competitive, but I'll be doing that soon, hinting towards something in the future once I do get a camera that's not my phone. Anyways, guys, I will see you all in the next video. I'm sorry I rambled on in the beginning so much, and I'm sorry I'm rambling on now. See you all later. Peace.